Hello everyone. Shabbat Chanukah this year is a unique Shabbat Chanukah because we're not going to take out not one, not two, but three Sifrei-Torah. One for the Parsha of the week, Parshat Miketz, one for Rosh Chodesh, and one for Chanukah. That's what the Gemara says in Masechet Megillah, Daf Kaftet, Amud Bet. And indeed, the Shulchan Aruch goes ahead and divides it up for us. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Reish Pei Dalet Seif Gimel says that when Rosh Chodesh Tevet comes out on Shabbos, we read 6 aliyahs from the first Torah. The 7th aliyah will be Rosh Chodesh Torah, and the third, namely Maftir, will be the Kriyas HaTorah for Chanukah of that day. Everybody agrees between Torah number 1 and Torah number 2, you don't say Kaddish. You do Hag B'Glila, and you don't say Kaddish, as the Mishnah Berurah says, Kishagomer Parshat HaShavua Menichim Sifrei-Torah Habet. The second one, Ve'en Omrim Kaddish. Rak Makbein HaRishona V'Gol Linota. However, what happens between Torah number 2 and Torah number 3? Everybody agrees that in such a situation, when you have a maftir in a different Torah, and you have the Torah you just read from, then this is what you do. Says the Ramah, that ein misalkin harishona ad shekvar hinichu ashniya ala shulchan sheliyasichu da'atam min hamitzvot. So the correct protocol is between Torah number 2 and Torah number 3 as follows. You read the Rosh Chodesh Kriyas HaTorah, finished. Then you take Torah number 3 onto the Bima. Why? So you shouldn't start diverting your attention. There's still another Kriyas HaTorah to do. Says Rav Menashe Klein that because of this, the best place to put it is on the left, where the Bala Korah stands, and not on the right, because Ein Ma'avirin ala mitzvot. You never take a cheftza of a mitzvah and say, I'm not going to use it if you can. So therefore, you put it on the left where the Baal Korah is, so that the Sifrei-Torah that you want to do Hag B'Glila on is further away from him. You do Hag B'Glila on that second Sifrei-Torah of Rosh Chodesh, and then you read from the third Sifrei-Torah, the Kriyas HaTorah for Chanukah. Here comes the machlokas. When you say Kaddish between Torah number 2 and Torah number 3, do you put Torah number 1 on the table or not? So again, on a regular day in which we only have 2 Sifrei-Torah, then all the Sifrei-Torah we took out, namely the 2, are on the table. But in this case, we already did Hag B'Glila for one of the Torahs. They're already sitting on the side in someone's hand or on the bench. What do you do? So comes the Magen Avram and says the same protocol. Whether you have 2 or 3, you have to put them all on the Bima for Kaddish. So the guy's holding it, tell him to unhold it for a minute, put it on the Bima, and put it back on his hand. That's what the Magen Avraham paskins and says, to biyom sheyesh bo gimel sifrei Torah yenichu shloshtan ala shulchan b'shat HaKaddish, dahay yesh mekomot shomrim hakol echad ve'echad Kaddish. There are places that say Kaddish on each and every Kriyas HaTorah, so at least us who only say one Kaddish, all the Torahs should be there. But he does acknowledge Velo nahagukein. That's not the minhag. However, despite this not being the minhag, comes along the Aruch HaShulchan and says that I don't care. Kishiyesh gimel Sifrei-Torah menichan kulan b'shat HaKaddish. You put them all on the table at the time of Kaddish. But as the Magen Avraham says, this is not the minhag. And indeed, most of the poskim say that's not what you do. Namely, you do Hag B'Glila on Torah number 1, and it stays in its place. You read Torah number 2, cover it, put Torah number 3 on the table, and you say Kaddish only on the last 2, not on the first. That's what the Magen Giborim says. The Magen Giborim is a beautiful perush on the Shulchan Aruch because it was written in unison between Rav Shaul Natanson and Rav Mordechai Ettinger. Rav Mordechai Ettinger is years 1804 to 1863. He says, together with Rav Shaul Natanson, Uvishlosh Svarim, Lo Nagul Anichin Shloshtam Rak Shnayim. That's what the Pri Megadim says. And that's what the Levush says. That's what the Mishnah Berurah ultimately says. So therefore, only 2 on the table. The first is in the Hagba's hand or on the bench behind you. The question is why? If on a day we have 2 Sifrei-Torah, all the Sfarim are on the table during that Kaddish after Kriyas HaTorah, how come when you have 3, you only have the last 2 on the table? So there's 2 answers given to this. One answer, Rav Mordechai Yafeh in the Levush. Shum de barishona kfar karu. V'hakol yod'in sheha-Kaddish chozer gam alea. When you say Kaddish, everyone knows it corresponds to all the Torahs you have already read. So you read Torah number 1, even though it's not on the table. And you just read Torah number 2, which happens to still be on the table. Aval b'shlishit, but the third Torah, dain lo karuba. You didn't read from it, so maybe the Kaddish wouldn't in any which way connect to it. Therefore, you have to put it on the table. However, the Chemed Moshe has a different answer. Rav Gedalia Mlashitz, from Lashitz, his years 1690 to 1773, he was a Rav in Lithuania and eventually a Rav in the Czech Republic. He comes along and says, "Tahaviktzat kmo bizui l'sefer Torah, sheyanichu ota ala bima, kilu rotzim likrot ba v'lo yikru'u ba." He basically says, if you take out a Torah, there's no problem. But if you didn't read from it, it is a problem. So you already read from that Torah, but now you're putting it on the Bima. Literally, what you usually do a second before you take off the me'il, the cover, and you read from it. If you go ahead and you put it on the table, and then you take it off the table without reading from it, he thinks it's a bizui l'sefer Torah. It's being disrespectful and even worse to the Sefer Torah. And therefore, says the Chemed Moshe, we don't put that first Torah on the table. The second Torah we just read from is what we call Sheva al Taseh. Namely, we don't do a thing with it. We just read from it, it's still there. The third we're about to read from, so there's no disrespect there. But the first we already finished with, and therefore, it's not a good idea to put it on the table. So therefore, we'll take out 3 Sifrei-Torah. After the first, just Hag Baglila. After the second, everyone agrees you put the third on the table. Do you put the first on the table? Aruch HaShulchan says, absolutely listen to the Magen Avraham, but the Magen Avraham acknowledges that's not the minhag. The minhag is that you don't put that third on the table, either because it's clear that the Kaddish relates to it because we just read from it, or because it's a bizui to the Sefer Torah. It's disrespectful to put a Torah on the table and not read from it. And indeed, this seems to be the minhag not just on Shabbat Chanukah, but this is the minhag even on other days. For example, on Chol HaMoed Pesach, every single day we take out 2 Sifrei-Torah, and we read from both of them, and everybody knows that the Eliyahu Rabbah Paskins, Hu Adin b'Chol HaMoed Pesach, Omrim HaKaddish al HaShniya levad ve'ein manichin HaRishona. You say Kaddish on the second one, you don't take back the first. Same thing on Rosh Chodesh, which will come out on Sunday. We'll take out 2 Sifrei-Torah, 1 for Chanukah, 1 for Rosh Chodesh. Once again, we'll say Kaddish on the second one, and most people say, unlike the Aruch HaShulchan and the Magen Avraham, you don't have to put the first one on the table.
Now I saw names like you shining.